What's up, fam? It's me, and I'm back. And today, um, I'm rejuvenated. I'm re-energized, and I'm ready to come back swinging. Um, everybody has experienced, what we experienced, as far as Snoop apologizing and all of that kind of stuff, and all the stuff that's gone on in the last couple of days, and all of that. But I'm here today, and I think everybody should be should have this mindset that it's time for us to bring it back to what this whole thing was originally about. This whole thing was never about Snoop. This whole thing was never about Oprah. This whole thing was never about any of that. It was all about Gayle disrespecting Kobe's legacy and about Gayle in cahoots with Oprah, always attacking black men, always dragging black men down, always being the black faces of white supremacy and going after black men and ignoring the white men that they rub elbows with every day. The Les Moonveses and the Harvey Weinsteins and the Kevin Spaceys and the Matt Lauers and the Charlie Roses and the Bryan Singers and the Woody Allens and all the people that they rub elbows with every day. That's what this was really about. That's what it started out being about. And we've got to remember, Gayle is not the victim here. She's never been the victim here. She's the victimizer. She's the one doing the abusing black men. So we've got to bring it back to to where it is. She started this. She started this whole thing. And the backlash had nothing to do with Snoop. Snoop was a part of the backlash. But the backlash was not because of anything that Snoop said. It was not because Snoop came out and lashed out at her. It was not because of the statements that Snoop made. That's not what started the backlash. The backlash was going on before Snoop ever said anything. He just joined his voice to it. Him and a few other celebrities. They just joined their voices. They just added their voices in with all of our voices. But what we were saying had absolutely nothing to do with what Snoop said. He was not the catalyst for us. We would have said what we were saying, and there would have been backlash from us whether Snoop said anything or not. So this is not about Snoop. This is not about what he said. This is not about whether or not he apologized. This is not about him. So we've got to take the focus off of him and put the focus back where it belongs, on Gayle King, who has yet to apologize. She hasn't apologized to the Bryant family. She hasn't apologized to this man's wife. She hasn't apologized to his surviving children. She hadn't apologized to, his mother and his father, his sisters, his brothers. She hasn't apologized to all of his many fans. She hasn't apologized to anybody for what she did. She has not taken accountability and accepted responsibility for what she did. Instead, she used Oprah to come and turn her into a victim, talking about death threats and all of that, which I do not believe. I do not believe Gayle King ever received a death threat. Most people don't believe that she received any kind of death threat. All Oprah did was make a few telephone calls to her chummy buddies, and that's the reason why Susan Rice came out of obscurity and all of a sudden had so much to say about Snoop and Gayle, but she didn't have anything to say about Sandra Bland. She didn't have anything to say about the 75,000 plus black women and girls that are missing in America. She didn't have anything to say about Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown, Eric Garner, Freddie Gray, and all the other black men and women that were being slaughtered in the streets during the Obama administration, while she was in the White House, while she was National Security Advisor, while she was an ambassador to the UN. She didn't have anything to say about that. She didn't have anything to say about Kid Rock when he came out and blasted Oprah, a white man. They say Ted Nugent came out and blasted Oprah. But Susan Rice and the other feminists and the other white feminists and the women in the Me Too movement and all of that didn't have a word to say when these white men came out and blasted Oprah. They didn't have anything to say. So see, that's what this is about. This is not about Snoop. This is not about anything that he said. This is not about an apology or whatever. But we have allowed them to snatch the narrative and change it and make it about Gayle and Snoop. Like Gayle is a victim of something. Nobody victimized Gayle. She started this. She started this by asking questions that she never should have asked, especially at this time. She asked that question to this man's friend who was grieving, who was mourning his death. She asked this question when this woman, his wife, has to not only bury her husband, but she also has to bury her child. And on top of that, she's got to try to stay strong and try to keep it together for her remaining children. Parents lost their son. Sisters lost a brother. So while Snoop running around apologizing to Gayle, is Gayle apologizing to anybody that she may have hurt, anybody that she may have offended? Is Susan Rice apologizing for using her government office and using her official status to come out and attack and threaten a private citizen? Oprah goes on the Today Show with Huda and Jenna and talking about she shedding tears over Gayle and talking about Gayle is not doing well. Well, where are the tears for the people that are really hurt, the people that were really offended? Where are the tears for the family that's grieving? Where are the tears for the friends and the fans that are grieving? Let's bring this back to what it's really all about. Let's bring this back to Gayle and Oprah, because Oprah inserted herself into this. Oprah inserted herself into this. Oprah, and then in the process of inserting herself into this, then she tries to pull the victimized white woman card, and get on national TV. Oh, she's just not doing well. She's not doing well. And putting on all them phony tears. Let's bring this back to what it's really all about. Because it's never been about Snoop. Snoop just said some words. It's never been about him. But see, that's the point. That's the point in doing all of this with Snoop is to distract us and to get our minds off of what Gayle did. And to get us into this, it's man against woman and all of that. No, it's never been about man against woman or anything like that. Because there were women that were saying the exact same things and calling Gayle the exact same names that Snoop did. They just don't have the platform that he has. They don't have the following that he has. They don't have the fame and the recognition that he has. Because I called her those names. And will call her those names again if she continues to act like a bitch. But we need to bring this back to where it really supposed to be. We don't need to let white mainstream media and Gayle and her little buddies and all of those liberals and all of those feminists and all of that change this and make Gayle a victim and present a false narrative. Nobody threatened Gayle. Snoop certainly did not threaten her. And everybody knows that he was not threatening her. But she's nobody's victim. So let's get into some of the stuff that Gayle has been into. Let's delve into it a little bit. You understand? So we can bring this back to where it really started. Because see, that's what these folks try to do. These folks throw rocks and then try to hide their hand. These folks want to pick a fight, and then when they realize they're losing the fight, then they want to play victim. She started this. Let's bring it back to she started this. Let's bring it back to that line of questioning that was totally inappropriate for this time. Let's demand that she take some accountability. Let's demand that she hold herself responsible for her own actions, because she knew exactly what she was doing. She knew the questions that she was asking, and she knew why she was asking those questions at this particular time. So let's bring the narrative back to where it's supposed to be, because the focus is it never should have been on Snoop. The focus never should have been on whether Snoop was going to stand by what he said or whatever. The focus should never have been on him. And for us, the focus never was on him. But that's what the media wants to do. The media wants to take the heat off of Gayle, make her look like a victim, and change the narrative and change the focus. Well, no, it's time for us to bring the focus back. Especially us who are a part of the new black media. We need to bring the focus back. We need to think, just like Ricky Smiley said today, and Ricky Smiley just keeps on with this, because Ricky Smiley is just not satisfied with this at all. As is some other folks that are just not satisfied. They're not satisfied with the way this whole thing went down. They're not satisfied with Gayle being allowed to all of a sudden make herself a victim. And now folk got to come out and apologize to her. And you know, the black man again has to be the one to apologize. The black man again has to be the one to bow down for just being honest and just telling the truth. So it's all right for them to lie. It's all right because they're in cahoots with the white media, and because they're in bed with white supremacy, and because they hold up white supremacy and push white supremacy agendas. It's okay for them to lie. It's okay for them to put out false information. It's okay for Gayle to get on national TV and call Kobe's accuser the victim. Point blank, the victim. That's what she called her. She didn't call her an accuser. She didn't call her an alleged victim. She called her the victim. Which right there let it be known that as far as Gayle was concerned, he was guilty. Made no difference whether or not that. And then when Lisa said, well, he went to trial, then Gayle made a point of putting it out. Oh, no. It's not like he went to trial and evidence was heard and all of that, you know, and he was found not guilty or he was exonerated. No. It was just dismissed. It wasn't just dismissed. The prosecution refused to prosecute the case. And they refused to prosecute the case. And for any of you who want to know what's really going on and want to know what really happened in this case, as far as the articles and everything that were coming out at that time, I'll post a link in the description box, and you can go and you can look up some of this stuff and read it for yourself. But this woman was on psychotic drugs. She had stopped taking her medicine and had freaked out. She had went to a party and was bragging at the party about having sex with Kobe and telling people all about, you know, describing his penis to people and all of this kind of stuff. She had already told people what she was going to do with the money when she got the money. She had already told the people that she was planning on getting a boob job and she was going to buy a koala bear. She had sex with some man just hours after Kobe allegedly raped her. She had put it out there that when Eminem came to town, she was planning on trying to do the same thing with him, sleep with him, you know, so she could try to use a rape allegation or whatever to try to finesse money out of him. When she went in for the rape kit, they found, I think, I've heard different numbers, but I know it was 4+ different semen samples in her underwear when she went in for the rape kit. The people at the party were lined up to testify against her. Her own friend was lined up to testify against her and to testify, that she was talking about what she was going to do with the money and she wasn't upset. People, folks that worked at the hotel were going to testify that they saw her leaving the hotel and she didn't look like she was upset. She didn't look distressed. She didn't look like anything was wrong with her. So with all of this information and all of these facts, when all of this started coming out, the prosecution was like, well, ain't nowhere in the world we can prosecute this. And she keeps switching up her story. She telling lies. Just the fact that she got all that semen in her doing the rape kit. And the fact that she had sex with somebody else just hours after she was so-called raped. Come on now. And these are facts. So for Gayle King to go on national TV and know that millions of people are watching her, and for her to just flat out call this woman the victim and make it sound like, the only reason why he didn't go to jail or the only reason why he wasn't convicted or whatever was because, the case was dismissed. Yeah, explain why the case was dismissed. She didn't go into any of that. Explain why the case was dismissed. So it was a hit. And that's the reason why she kept pressing Lisa. That's the reason why she wanted Lisa to say something. Anything that could be used to put a bad light on Kobe's legacy. But Lisa handled her. And Lisa handled her very well. But just to refresh your memories, you understand what I'm saying? So we can get back to what this is really all about. And stop letting mainstream media run away with this thing like this has ever been about Snoop. And like Gayle is somebody's victim. Let me let you hear this. And what I want you to hear is, I want you to hear what Lisa and Gayle were talking about just minutes before Gayle went into all of this about the allegations against him and all of that. I want you to listen to just a little bit of what they were talking about before Gayle started that line of questioning. And when you hear it, it's going to make what she did even more heartless, even more despicable. Okay? Now hold on, because I had it at the right spot, but it got away.
If you will, these young ladies who are out there playing, the fact that he's enjoying at the Lakers games. True? Well, he was just like, she got it. It's tough, Lisa. Seeing him, he was like, Lisa. And she was into it. And he talked about just, I remember seeing him, he was like, Lisa. And she was into it. And he talked about but I think it's also because Gigi wanted to see.
Okay, see, now we're getting ready. This is the conversation that they were having right before Gayle launched into all of these questions about the allegations. And they were talking about how he had started spending more time at the WNBA games than he was at the Lakers games. And Lisa was explaining why she thought he was doing that. So let's get to that.
WNBA games now than he would at the Lakers games. True? Well, it's true, but I think it's also because Gigi wanted to see certain players, and she was into it. And he talked about just, I remember seeing him. He was like, Lisa, she got it. She got it. He was just like, she got it. It's tough, Lisa, looking at the pictures of him and Gigi together playing basketball, sitting on the sidelines. It really does take your heart and rip it out when I see those pictures. Yes. We know what Kobe's accomplished, but Gigi she didn't have the full opportunity to do that, because you just know that she had the mentality. Mamacita was going to make it. She was going to be in the WNBA. It's been said that his legacy is complicated because of sexual assault charge, which was dismissed in 2003, 2004. Is it complicated for you as a woman, as a WNBA player?
Now I want to stop right here, and I want y'all to grasp that. I want y'all to grasp how smoothly this woman went from talking about this relationship that this father had with his daughter and talking about, how it just rips her heart out to see the pictures of him and Gigi playing ball together, and him and Gigi sitting on the sidelines together watching games and all of that, and how seeing those pictures just ripped your heart out, and Lisa expressing how Kobe knew that Gigi had it, and that that Gigi didn't get the opportunity to be all that she could be, and that she would have made it in the WNBA, and see how smoothly this woman goes from that to launching right into talking about these allegations that were 16, 17 years ago. Okay, hold on.
In 2003, 2004, been said that his legacy is
Hold
complicated.
on. I want you to hear how smoothly she goes into that now.
Opportunity to do that, because you just know that she had the mentality. Mamacita was going to make it. She was going to be in the WNBA. It's been said that his legacy is complicated because of the sexual assault charge, which was dismissed in 2003, 2004. Is it complicated for you as a woman, as a WNBA player? It's not complicated for me at all. Even if there's a few times that we've been at a club at the same time. Kobe's not the kind of guy, never been like, let's go get that girl or tell her or send her this. I have other NBA friends that are like that. Kobe's he was never like that. I just never have ever seen him being the kind of person that would do something to violate a woman or be aggressive in that way. That's just not the person that I know. But Lisa, you wouldn't see it though. As his friend, you wouldn't see it. And that's possible. I just don't believe that. And I'm not saying things didn't happen. I just don't believe that things didn't happen with force. Is it even a fair question to talk about it, considering he's no longer with us and that it was resolved? Or is it really part of his history? I think that the media should be more.
Now, I want you to remember, Gayle just said herself, is it fair to even talk about it, seeing that he's no longer with us and that things were resolved? That's what she said. So she's admitting that this line of questioning is not fair. She just said it herself. Is it even fair for us to even be mentioning this, talking about this, seeing as how he's no longer here and how it's already been resolved? Okay, well, if you know it's not fair, if you know he's not here, if you know it's already been resolved, then why did you continue with that line of questioning? Why did you even start that line of questioning? Okay, let's continue.
Respectful. At this time, it's like if you had questions about it, you've had many years to ask him that. I don't think it's something that we should keep hanging over his legacy. I mean, it went to trial. Yeah, it was dismissed because the victim in the case refused to testify. So it was dismissed.
Now there she go again. That was it. There she go. The victim in the case, not the alleged accuser, not the accuser, not the alleged victim. The victim in the case refused to testify. But she's not giving any background as to why this woman refused to testify. And she didn't mention that the prosecution was going to drop the case anyway. They dropped it anyhow.
And I think that's how we should leave it. It is interesting to me how deeply his.
Now that's I just wanted to refresh your memory. You understand what I'm saying? I just want to refresh everybody's memory and get back to what this is really all about. Because see, she did this before Snoop ever said anything. Before Snoop or anybody else said anything, she did this. And she did this deliberately. She did this knowing exactly what she was doing, knowing exactly what she was saying. And like I said, I want you to notice that smooth transition, how she goes from talking about how heart wrenching it was to see the pictures of this man with his daughter, and it'll just rip your heart out. She goes from that to automatically launching right into talking about these accusations. And then she makes a point of telling Lisa, but you wouldn't see it. Okay, well then if you don't feel like the woman would see it, and if you don't feel like the woman can give you a genuine answer, or can really be honest or really be objective or whatever, then why are you even having this conversation with her? Why would you even ask her the question? Because remember, Gayle is the one that asked her the question. Do you think it's complicated as a woman and as a WNBA player? And Lisa said, no, it's not complicated for me at all. And then she goes on to say, he's not, I've never seen, that's not the person that I know. That's not the man that I saw. I didn't see any of that. I didn't see the man that would violate a woman or rape a woman or force a woman to do anything. And then she goes to tell her, okay, but that's not the answer that I want. That's basically what she was saying. That's not the answer that I want. So then she tells her, after she asked the woman the question and she got the answer, then she goes on to tell the woman, but you wouldn't see it. As his friend, you wouldn't see it. Basically saying, but see, that's not the answer I want. You got to give me another answer. You got to give me an answer that I can use to somehow disgrace this man's legacy or somehow degrade this man's legacy. And Lisa Lisa didn't give her that. So, I just played this clip because, like I said, I want to remind you of what this is really all about. Because, see, like I said, Gayle did this before Snoop ever called anybody anything. Before Snoop ever opened up his mouth. Before anybody ever opened up their mouth. Gayle did this. And Gayle has yet to apologize for this. Because that statement that she came out with was in no way an apology. All that statement was her throwing the blame off on somebody else. Her passing the buck on to CBS. And her talking about how it made her feel. Again, like she was the victim of something. Like people were just lashing out at her for nothing. So she's been trying to be the victim and trying to play the victim from day one. And they had to find somebody. Well, they couldn't use anybody else. They couldn't use Boosie, and they couldn't use Bellamy, and they couldn't use some of the others because they didn't go quite as far as Snoop did. They didn't have quite as much to say as Snoop did. So they used Snoop to make her look like a victim. But Gayle is no victim here. And as of yet, we still have no apology from her. The family has no apology from her. The family of the other victims in the helicopter crash have no apology from her. None of Kobe's family has any apology from her. His fans don't have an apology from her. Nobody has an apology for her, but she gets an apology. Why? Because Susan Rice decides she's going to come out and come out of a rat hole from somewhere. So all of a sudden, because she shows her face and she tweets, all of a sudden, Gayle's supposed to get an apology. No. Gayle is not off the hook. Oprah is not off the hook. Neither one of them are off the hook. They are both canceled. But I'm just here to remind you of who the real victims are. And now, actually, Snoop has become a victim. He's a victim of that same racist system, that same system of white supremacy that says when the black man gets a little bit too uppity, when the black man gets a little bit too big for his britches, you understand what I'm saying? When the black man all of a sudden decides that he wants to step out of line and he wants to speak against his white masters, We got to hurry up and put him back in check. We got to hurry up and put him back in line. When the black man decides that he going to get up off of his knees and stand up, white supremacy says, oh no, nigga, we got to put you back on your knees. And Snoop allowed them to put him back on his knees. Why? Because he's a part of that system. But he's not, but it doesn't just happen to him. It happens to all black men. That's what it was with Bill Cosby. That's what it's been with so many black men. As soon as they rise up a little bit, as soon as they decide, okay, I'm tired of bowing down. I'm tired of everybody standing on my back. I'm tired of being on my knees. I'm getting ready to stand up. I'm getting ready to step out, and I'm getting ready to speak out. They seeing somebody to put that nigga back in place. And if he don't go back in place of his own free will, shit happens. So now Snoop has joined in with Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, Tiger Woods, Justin Fairfax, and some of the rest of them. Snoop is the newest name on the list. He has become the latest black victim of Gayle and Oprah. And I'm not saying that because I'm trying to garner any support for Snoop or any sympathy for Snoop or anything like that. I'm a little disgusted with him too because of what happened. But he became another victim. They used him as an example. Just like they would buck break the black slave, the black male slave in front of, all the women and all the other slaves. They would buck break him and they would tie him down and they would rape him to show their dominance. You understand what I'm saying? And to use him as an example of what would happen to any of the rest of them if they decided that they wanted to challenge the system. If they decided that they wanted to challenge massa. So they broke Snoop publicly. And not for the masses. They broke Snoop for the black celebrities. They broke Snoop for the other black male celebrities in case any of them got the notion that maybe, just maybe, they were going to decide that they were going to stand up and they were going to speak out against some stuff, or they were going to speak out against the black puppets of white supremacy. Now, yes, they hope that it will affect all black men in all walks and all circles of life, but they definitely were sending a message to the other black men that are celebrities in Hollywood, in the music business, these professional ball players and all of this kind of stuff. They were sending them a message. If you go on that pathetic apology video that Snoop posted yesterday, last night, whatever, you see all of those blue checks, talking about well done, dog, and all of this, it takes a bigger person, and I'm so proud of you and all of that. For what? Proud of him for what? For getting buck broken publicly. But he has become the latest victim. Inadvertently, he has become the latest victim of Gayle, Oprah, white supremacy, these white feminists, these white liberals. He has become the latest victim. He has become the latest black male victim. And as far as Gayle and Oprah and all the rest of them are concerned, they still remain untouched. They still remain unscathed. They still have their power. They had the power to break that nigga. They had the power to make him apologize, so they feel like they still have their power. And as long as we continue to keep talking about Snoop and keep putting out stories about Snoop instead of going back, getting back to the original problem in the first place, which was Gayle. We got to get back to that. We got to get back to talking about Gayle. We got to get back to talking about what she did. We got to get back to talking about what started all of this. We got to get back to talking about her purpose. I put in the video last night about Weinstein. I do believe today is third. I do believe they started closing arguments in his case today. The defense did their closing arguments today. Tomorrow, the prosecution is going to do their closing arguments. And again, Harvey refused to testify. He didn't testify, like I said. As far as Harvey's concerned, he ain't answering nobody's questions about nothing. He's not going to answer for his actions. As far as he's concerned, he done already put it out there that everything he did was consensual, and he ain't talking no more. Because he don't feel like he has to answer to anybody. I also put it out there that Oprah's guru, John of God, whose own daughter accused him of rape. I believe it was between 200 and 400 women that accused him of rape or sexual assault or sexual misconduct. Well, he got 19 years. He was sentenced to 19 years. See, that's what we got to get back to talking about. We done reported on Snoop. Everybody done said what had to be said. We done reported on this celebrity saying this and that celebrity saying that or whatever. Now we got to get back to what this is really all about. And we got to let Gayle and Oprah and all the rest of them know that he ain't off of y'all. We ain't forgot what you did. This didn't distract us. This didn't fool us. We're not going to allow you to change the narrative. Now, let's move on. Because it's one more thing that Gayle was up to that not a lot of people know a lot about because they're not doing a lot of reporting on it. And I think it needs to be brought out so that everybody can know about it. I got this out of the Washington Post in the politics section. Virginia politics. Judge dismisses Lieutenant Governor Fairfax's defamation suit over CBS interviews on sexual assault claims. So Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax, right? Let me read it. Let me just read it. This was February the 11th, 2020, by Laura Vazella. A federal judge on Tuesday dismissed Virginia Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax's defamation lawsuit against CBS over back-to-back interviews the network aired last year with two women accusing him of sexual assault. And these alleged sexual assaults happened 15 years ago. Yeah, 15 years ago. Okay? Fairfax, who sought $400 million, said he would appeal. Meredith Watson and Vanessa Tyson alleged last February that Fairfax had sexually assaulted them in separate incidents in the early 2000s. Okay? 15 years ago. Watson was a classmate at... Let me bring it up a little bit so I can see it better. Watson was a classmate at Duke University, and Tyson met Fairfax at the 2004 Democratic National Convention in Boston. Fairfax said both encounters were consensual and that the accusations were politically motivated. The allegations became public at a moment when Fairfax seemed poised to take over for Governor Ralph Northam, then on the verge of resigning over a racist photo in his 1984 medical school yearbook. Northam, is the one that they saw in blackface. Northam did not step down. They were calling for his resignation, but he didn't step down. Both women gave interviews to Gayle King that aired last April on CBS This Morning. Again, Gayle being used to interview alleged victims that were supposedly, allegedly sexually assaulted by a black man. It's always Gayle. It's always Oprah going after these black men. You understand what I'm saying? There's nobody else at CBS that can interview these black men but Gayle. Just like there's nobody else that can do these documentaries on these black men but Oprah. Come on now. Fairfax filed a federal lawsuit in September, saying the network recklessly disregarded the truth and hyped what he says are false sexual assault allegations against him. The suit, filed in federal court in Alexandria, claimed that CBS failed to follow up on leads that would demonstrate the allegations to be false. One of those leads concerns a claim that Fairfax had a witness that was present at the consensual sexual encounter he had with Watson. And that friend, that witness, could corroborate that it was consensual. The lawsuit contended that CBS could or should have known about the possibility of a witness because it aired the interview before it aired the interview with Watson. The suit said a top CBS attorney, now get this, a top CBS attorney was a Duke classmate who dated Watson a year before the alleged assault and remains a friend of Fairfax and is the witness. So one of the attorneys at CBS is actually the witness that Fairfax said could corroborate that his sexual encounter with Watson was consensual. And I'm quite sure that CBS attorney told somebody something. Okay, let's keep going. The suit also took issue with comments that King and her This Morning co-host made on air after the interviews that suggested they sympathized with and believed Fairfax's accusers. Just like Gayle came out and called this accuser in the Kobe situation the victim, making it clear just by calling the woman the victim instead of saying the alleged accuser or the alleged victim or whatever. Just by coming out saying the victim, she's projecting that even though it was dismissed or whatever, it still must have been true. And the victim, the only reason why it turned out the way it did is because the victim refused to testify. So see, this is not her first time. This is not her first rodeo. This is the way she handles these things with black men. You could see, now this is what one of the co-hosts said at the time. You could see where she got very emotional talking about this Watson woman, the alleged victim. You could see where she got very emotional and went to that dark place. Co-host Bianna Goladrega said at one point. So yeah, that's pretty much saying we believe her story. We believe her side. We believe something happened. Because she's emotional and she's going to a dark place. U.S. District Judge Tony J. Tringer wrote that Fairfax does not plausibly allege that CBS, in publishing sensational and highly damaging accusations made by Tyson and Watson against him, violated basic journalistic standards. And this is the woman who keeps on trying to project guilt onto black men through her questioning, you know what I'm saying, through her comments and all of this on air. This is the woman that Susan Wright says is a very fair and professional and principled journalist. Okay. But Tringa rejected the network's request that Fairfax pay its legal fees, which Fairfax considered a partial victory. So CBS was requesting that Fairfax pay their legal fees because they were saying that it pretty much amounted to a frivolous, groundless lawsuit. But this is what the judge said. Fairfax's allegations are not so groundless, frivolous, or unreasonable, or so lacking in a substantial basis in fact and law as to warrant an award of fees. So even the judge could see that it was something going on there. Might have not been enough to really prove anything or whatever, or for the judge to feel like it was necessary to go along with the case, but the judge saw that something was there. Because if the judge had felt like it was truly just groundless and frivolous and unreasonable, CBS would have been able to get those attorney fees. The judge noted that the women's allegations were uncorroborated and leveled under circumstances that raised issues as to their timing. And despite Fairfax's detailed denials, which CBS reported on air, CBS's commentary could be viewed by a reasonable listener as placing his accuser's statements in a sympathetic light that gave them some degree of legitimacy. So basically what the judge said is, these women's allegations have not been corroborated, and the timing is really questionable. The timing is really, really questionable that these allegations just popped up all of a sudden after 15 years. And even though CBS was saying that Fairfax denied the allegations, CBS's commentary, which means Gayle King and her co-host, and the commentary, the discussion they had after these interviews, could be viewed by any reasonable listener as shedding a sympathetic light on the allegations and the accusers and giving them some degree of legitimacy, which means making them believable. Representatives for CBS did not immediately respond to requests for comments on the ruling. While we respect the court's ruling, we disagree with it, Fairfax said. We look forward to appealing the ruling on the motion to dismiss and view this as a significant step forward in establishing that Meredith Watson fabricated her claim of rape and sexual assault and that Vanessa Tyson fabricated her claim of sexual assault. So Jason Fairfax's case was dismissed, right? But it was not dismissed in such a way that the judge just put it out there, this is frivolous. This case had no merit. You understand what I'm saying? This case was unreasonable. And because of that, we're going to, award CBS their attorney fees. No, actually, the judge actually said that the case did have merit, that there were some questionable things going on, but he couldn't prove. Hold on, and I'll give you the specifics of what the judge said he couldn't prove in another article. And both of these articles will be in the description box. And this one is coming from the AP, coming from AP News. Let's see. I'm reading now to see exactly what it was that the judge said he failed to prove. Oh, Tringer, that's the judge, Tringer, in a 30-page opinion said Fairfax failed to meet the actual malice standard for a libel claim by a public figure. So what he couldn't meet, the requirement that he didn't meet, what he didn't have sufficient evidence of was that there was actual malice in the line of questioning, the commentary, the interviews, whatever. He couldn't show that there was actually any malice in that. That it was not that he couldn't show that it was being done maliciously against him. So that's the only reason why the judge dismissed it, was because he didn't meet that requirement, the requirement of showing actual malice, that this was something that was done maliciously against him. Even though we know for Gayle it was malicious. She does this maliciously against black men. So does Oprah. But that's the reason why they do it under the guise of the media, under the guise of journalists, because that gives them a cover. You understand what I'm saying? That gives them, the right to ask certain questions. And that gives them the right to say certain things because they're doing it under the cover of, under the guise of being journalists. So because they're doing it in that setting, you understand what I'm saying? Unless they say certain specific words, or unless they really show a lot of hostility or whatever, it would be real hard to prove that they're doing this, that they're asking these questions maliciously, that they're interviewing these certain people for a malicious reason or with malicious intent. So that's the reason why all of the media, all of the white media, and the black bootlicks, and all of them came out in support of Gayle, is because the white media wants to keep them in place so that they can do this, and the white media will protect them. But they have no journalistic integrity. If they had journalistic integrity, they would go, it would be equal across the board. The same questions that they ask over here of this group of people, or the same questions that they ask of black men, would be the exact same questions that they ask of white men. White men who have been accused of the exact same things or worse. But they're not doing that. They're not being sent to question the victims of John of God, or the alleged victims of Matt Lauer, or the alleged victims of Charlie Rose, or the alleged victims of Les Moonves, or the alleged victims of all of these, of Harvey Weinstein, what was the man's, Jeffrey Epstein. They're not being sent to question those women and to interview those women. It's hands off with them. They're not being sent to their friends. You understand what I'm saying? Nobody has been sent to Kirk Douglas's friends and family to ask him any questions and to bring up the allegation that back in the 1950s he raped a young Natalie Woods. Nobody was sent to David Bowie's family or his friends to question him about allegations of rape. Steven Tyler. Gayle has already come out and made statements. She made a statement about Charlie Rose, talking about, there's two sides to every story, and talking about redemption, and there's room for redemption and all of that. but they're not being sent there. So that's the reason why white media came out in support of them, because white media wants to keep them in place so that they can do this job, so that they can do these hits on these black men. And so that they can continue to do it under the guise of journalism, under the guise of news. Fairfax argued that comments made by CBS News journalists after the women's interviews with Gayle King implied that the accusations against him were true, including a comment by CBS This Morning co-host Norah O'Donnell after Tyson's interview that it feels like she was forced. So see, on air, they put it out there that they believe these women. But they don't do that with white men. They don't do that with white men that are accused of stuff like this. Why? Because they don't talk about it. They don't sit around and have commentary about it. They're not being sent to interview their alleged victims or whatever. So I just wanted to let y'all know that this is Gayle's MO. This is not something new for her. We already saw what she did with R. Kelly. And that's what she thought. She thought with Kobe she was getting ready to have another R. Kelly moment. Because that R. Kelly moment got her a raise of over twice her salary. Gayle went from making like 5-6 million at CBS to, after the R. Kelly interview, they offered her another contract and her salary went up to $11 million a year. So she thought she was getting ready to have another chaos moment. She thought she was getting ready to have another moment where what? They might triple her salary, her yearly salary. And it didn't turn out that way. And because of the backlash, she had to call in, she had to get in Oprah, and Oprah had to call in some favors from Susan Rice or for all we know, maybe Obama or whoever. And then they had to use Snoop to turn Gayle into the victim so that they could change the narrative, so that they could do this whole distraction thing and get us off of what this is really all about. But this is not about Snoop. This is not about her being threatened, and this is not about her being a victim. This is Gayle's MO. This is what she does. And she got this she learned from the best. She learned from Oprah. And I'll have these two articles about Justin Fairfax. I'll have those linked in the description box as well, along with the link to the information about Kobe's case for anybody who really wants to know what went down, for anybody who really wants to know what that was all about, and for anybody who really wants to know the reason why Kobe wrote that apology letter. That apology letter was just a part of all of that legal stuff that had to be done. See, there are all kind of legal ramifications that go into those kind of accusations. And even when the case is dropped and all of that kind of stuff, there's still stuff that's got to be handled, legal stuff that's got to be handled behind the scenes that we never see or hear anything about. And Kobe did what he was advised to do so that he could move on with his life and move on with his career. But I just wanted to bring this back and bring us back to focus. We got to stay focused. We got to stay focused on what all of this is really all about. And it's never been about Snoop. It's never been about what anybody said to Gayle. It's never been about Gayle being a victim. It's never been about Oprah coming out with all of her crocodile tears and her lies. Susan Rice trying to come out and push her weight around against an aging rapper, an aging black rapper, but she ain't had no smoke for them white supremacists out there killing all them black men in the street. She ain't had no smoke against George Zimmerman. She ain't had no smoke against that police officer that shot down Tamir Rice in less than 2 seconds. She ain't had no smoke for for the people who killed Sandra Bland in jail. She ain't had no smoke for them terrorists over there in Benghazi. But she can come out with all this heavyweight smoke against Snoop. Why? To remind him of what side he gets his bread buttered on, and that he better hurry up and get his black ass back in line. He better hurry up and get his black ass back on his knees. So we can't let the feminists, we can't let the white supremacists, we can't let them take over this and let them change the narrative. And let this go down in history as Gayle King being victimized by a black man. Because that's what it's all about. No. Gayle King was not victimized by anybody. If anything, Gayle King has now victimized another black man. Snoop has now become their victim. So since they couldn't get Kobe, you understand what I'm saying? They couldn't ruin his legacy. They couldn't smear his legacy. They couldn't do a smear campaign on him now that he's dead like they did on Michael Jackson. Okay, they said, okay, well, as long as we get one, and they got one, they got Snoop. As long as we get a black man, it don't matter who that black man is, as long as we get one. And the more popular he is, you understand what I'm saying? The more notoriety he has, the more famous he is, the better. So all they did was trade Kobe for Snoop. But they still got them a black male victim. Now his reputation is nothing. You understand what I'm saying? Look how people are looking at him now. Look at what people are saying about him now. People calling him weak. So they still got them a black victim. They still got them a black male victim. And why was Snoop victimized? Simply because he had the audacity to speak out. He had the audacity to tell the truth. They wasn't outraged. Come on, that's fake outrage. They wasn't outraged about Snoop calling Gayle a bitch. Snoop been calling women bitches and hoes for 30 years in his music. If anybody really wanted to cancel Snoop, he never would have made it to where he is now. If they were that offended and that outraged by his language. All that fake outrage. But they got him a victim. They still got exactly what they went for. That's the only reason why Gayle decided that she wanted to do an interview with Lisa Leslie. She wanted to do an interview with somebody that was close to Kobe, so that she could try to get somebody that might say something negative against him, derogatory against him, that she could use to try to smear and destroy his legacy. It didn't work. But they'll take what they could get. And Snoop walked right into it by saying what he said. So all I can say is I advise all of these celebrities and all of that, especially these black men, these black celebrities and all that. If you can't stand by what you say, you understand what I'm saying? And if you can't stand up to white supremacy, and you can't stand up to your white paymasters, and you can't stand up to massa or whatever, and you more concerned about getting the crumbs from his table than you are about what's going on in your community or whatever, please from now on, just keep your mouth shut. Just go on over there with them, do what you're going to do, and keep your mouth shut. Because all of this stepping out and then having to backtrack See, that's not a good look. That's not a good look. So you ain't got to backtrack if you never step out in the first place. But that's the reason why I wanted to do this video, guys. And I didn't mean to be here this long, but that's the reason why I wanted to do this video. I wanted to bring us back. Come on, let's come back on in. Let's get back down to earth and let's get back focused and let's get this narrative back to where it's supposed to be. And let's get back to where we're supposed to be. Let's get back to square one. Let's get back to what started all of this. And Gayle is what started all of this with her same MO. You see it. You see it in the Justin Fairfax case. You see it in the situation with R. Kelly. You've seen it with Kobe. And you've seen it with Snoop. So there's no way to deny it now. There's no way to deny that she's a part of that agenda. That's her job in the news. That's her job in the white mainstream media. To use the cover of the media, to use the cover of so-called being a journalist, and we know she's not a journalist. We know the only reason why she got put on is because she's friends with Oprah. But using that cover of being a so-called journalist so that you can attack black men. So that you can attack black men and help push the agenda of trying to make black men the face of sexual deviancy, sexual assault, predatory behavior, deviant behavior. That's the reason why they got Billy Porter walking around and they push him so hard. You don't see any white man walking around like that. You don't see any white man in Hollywood walking around like that. You don't see these white men in Hollywood with all that flamboyant mess and all these dresses and walking around looking like a clown. And they pushing them out everywhere and giving them all kind of awards and all of this kind of stuff and trying to validate them and trying to make them legitimate. And all. You don't see them doing it with anybody white. Why? Because they want to make a black man the face of all of that. And Gayle King and Oprah Winfrey run that school. And it's a whole lot of bed wenches and mammies up under them that are learning from them. But we got to get back to what this is really all about. And it's not about any one individual man. It's about the black man is the target. And as long as the black man is a target, the whole black community is a target. So let's get back to that. And let's start demanding some apologies from Gayle King and Oprah and Susan Rice and some of these other folks. So again, y'all, all this information will be linked in the description box. Please like the video. Please share the video. Please subscribe to the channel. Please hit that bell notification if you want to be notified when we upload videos. Let's stay on code. You know, we got codified and we showed how powerful we are because we pushed. I mean, and we pushed to the point where they had to go try to call themselves pulling out some so-called big guns. So that lets you know that we're on the right track. That lets you know that they noticed and they shook. But we can't take our foot off of Gayle and Oprah's necks because they are the two main ones that they use. And if we can bring them down, then maybe some of them mammies and them bed wenches that are up under them will realize, okay, well, if it didn't work no more for them, and if they lost all credibility and all of that, then it certainly ain't gonna work for us. So that's what we got to do. We got to bring the narrative back around to the truth and what it's really all about. And it's really all about Gayle King and her dirty, low-down tactics. Y'all have a good night.